So the trailer for the second Chicken Run film's out, and what the heck? Why does it look so good? Like, yeah, it's Aardman, I get it, and many of their films are veritable bangers, and they've always been bangers, but I don't know. I feel like this is a sequel that had very, very little going for it. When the first one came out, it was epic. It was pretty much a huge spoof of The Great Escape, but with chickens. Glorious satire overflowing with classic Aardman humour, with iconic characters and voices, and a plot that had no right to be as good as it was. It just fired on all cylinders, and is probably one of my favourite nostalgia bait films of all time these days. I watched it a few weeks ago and my god, it got me emotional. And so like most people, I think, I was pretty worried when they announced they were going to do a second film. I made a video a while back talking about the potential pitfalls, and already they'd announced major changes in the form of recastings, and fair enough, some actors are either dead or problematic, so you can't really bring them back for a sequel. But recasting Ginger, that one got me heated. Especially when the actress posted a clip of her redubbing the lines from the original and proving she still had the ability to do the voice. Pretty lame decision, in all honesty, and I stand by that, but I do find it a little bit funny that they wanted to replace the problematic Mel Gibson, noted anti-Semite, the type of man who drops the N-bomb in casual conversation whilst talking to his partner on the phone whilst also beating her. Lovely man. So yeah, they replaced him with Zachary Levi, who's nowhere near that bad, let's be fair, but he does seem a little bit troubled as of late, like he's trying to speedrun himself to the end of his career. Yeah, a little bit tragic there, so hopefully they don't need to recast again if they decide to do a third film. And yeah, like I said earlier, they've recast Ginger, which is just sacrilege. So I was already predisposed to think the film had the potential to turn out as a bit of a train wreck. But then I moved on, I stopped thinking about it, didn't want to ponder the downfall of a classic film. Then the trailer came out, and for me at least, this trailer was so good. I guess it's one of those classic moments where I come away from things looking like a bit of a fool. Because of course Aardman was going to be able to put on a grand old show for the trailer, that it was always going to look good, and maybe the movie's still going to suck. Maybe. But at the same time, just looking at this trailer, I'm very optimistic. There's a couple things I might not be 100% sure about, but for the most part, I think the film is going to be at least halfway decent. Which, when you're dealing with a classic film sequel, it's an absolute win in my book, because they usually stink. So, yeah, let's jump into the trailer and see what we find, shall we? Okay, so we start off with a look at the characters gearing up, just introductory shots to show us all the main characters again. Even Fowler thought they might not even bring him back, considering as the OG actor's dead. And I mean, those were some big shoes to fill anyway, such an iconic voice. And honestly, I know the roles have largely been recast, but from what I've heard in this trailer so far, everybody seems to have done a pretty decent job of imitating. And maybe I'm a bit of a casual, but I couldn't tell much of a difference between the leads, so good work all round. But yeah, the story seems to be that they're breaking into a chicken nuggets factory for some reason. I'm gonna guess that they're not just doing this out of the blue. Surely their chicks have been abducted or something like that. I feel like that gives the best and most obvious explanation as to why they'd risk themselves trying to bust into what seems to be a James Bond level type of secret base. Which, yeah, we see later on, has very high-tech facilities and security systems, it's very advanced in general. And that's fine, I suppose, but I do think they went a little bit too hard on that theme. The first film was really funny because they're treating this classic English chicken farm like it's a prisoner of war camp. Forced labour and eventual murder were the order of the day. And then they break out, just like in The Great Escape. Like they're soldiers escaping during World War I or World War II. Here, they're going for the secret agents theme. And I think it's very fun and very clever, but my main gripe is they missed the obvious thing to do to keep in that old theme. To keep the old charm, I guess, by taking something pretty innocuous like a farm and turning it into something horrifying that a human can understand, but for a chicken. So the farm, we just see it as a farm, but for a chicken, it's like a concentration camp. And so I thought the obvious thing to do is to take one of those old-timey factory buildings. You know the ones I mean. Something that for a human is just like, oh yeah, that's a factory building. But for a chicken would be like the Fortress of Doom, an evil castle. And so you use that as the basis to craft the silliness, but also the cleverness. Because whilst for us it's a building, to them breaking into it is like breaking into the Batcave. It's not going to happen. It'll take everything they have to penetrate the walls. But instead, they kind of go with a straight up secret agent base, which in turn for me sort of kills the parody of the genre. Instead of being chickens pretending to be secret agents, It literally just does seem like secret agent chickens. It's still a fun concept, but I don't know, it kind of removes a bit of the Aardman vibe that you would have gotten with the classic grimy factory design. But maybe that's just me. And then we begin our spy montage with a bunch of clips of our chickens using everyday objects to help them break into the factory, which, yeah, this is a part of the Aardman stuff I've always loved. They do it in Flushed Away as well. They take these innocuous little things, suspenders, coat hangers, a fishbowl, a pacifier, and they turn it into grappling equipment and scuba gear. It's just really clever design choices, as it's easy to see both what the actual item is supposed to be, but also gives you that moment to laugh at how the chickens have cobbled it together using everyday items that you know. We move on to see Rocky getting shot like a slingshot over the walls of the factory, only to get zapped by an electric fence, confronted by killer mechanical moles, and attacked by robot ducks with laser eyes. So yeah, a bit high tech, like I said before, but this was actually legitimately funny. And I do really like that they're keeping the slapstick elements of the original that made it so ridiculous at times. It's silly, and I love it. Also, the voices of the mice, or the rats, whatever they are, clearly they've been recast, but still, they feel nostalgic. They've got the vibe. Great stuff all around. And the dumb chicken, Babs, oh, Babs, perfection, still as funny as ever. One of Aardman's best ever characters, if you ask me. But of course, all of this pales in comparison to the moment when Mrs. Tweedy returns. Honestly, figured her story was finished with the first film, we'd never see her again. But when I heard the voice and the heavy footsteps, I don't know, it's like all my hype went through the roof for this movie. My nostalgia, my childhood nostalgia, it all came roaring back. And it just makes so much sense now. Ginger trying to save the chickens, potentially her chicks, from Mrs. Tweedy, who's moved on from pies into the nugget game, and who has obviously gone over the top in her security at said factory because now she knows that the chickens are intelligent and capable of outwitting her given the chance. And I gotta say, looking at this as a complete trailer, I'm really glad that this is not one of those animated Netflix projects that got mismanaged and ruined and went nowhere and cancelled. Or at least it's not showing the signs of that right now. And it's got a release date of December 15th, so not much time for it to fail. So yeah, just get hyped, really. And really, there's not much else to say other than that. The trailer looks so good, the claymation style looks great. Is it still even claymation, or do they just replicate it with computers now? I don't know, but it looks good regardless. And whilst I was previously on the fence here, as of right now, I'm 100% sold on the movie. Don't let me down, please. And so with all that being said, that's the end of the video, and I would like to say that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the trailer? Are you hyped for the movie now? Maybe not so much? I'm honestly curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.